Hello my cousin, and welcome back to another video. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for the love that all of you have shown to my latest Nehanda video. I've also got DMs from people that are actually fascinated in understanding some of Zimbabwe's legends, and I decided to shoot a follow-up video which I said would be Mount Nyanga. Okay, so Mount Nyanga is not necessarily a legend per se, because it is actually a heritage site, the tallest mountain in not in Africa, because there's Kilimanjaro in Southern Africa, I think. But there has been speculations around the sacredness of the mountain in itself. Other people believe that our ancestors actually protect Mount Nyanga for it to remain as pure as possible, and because of that, people that have actually gone up the mountain, who have said nasty things about the mountain, have disappeared. So I researched to find out the origins of this whole phenomenon and why things happen like that, because I personally know of a couple of people that have come out on the news who have said to have disappeared mysteriously. People have looked for them, gone on search parties, and these people just disappeared. They were not found dead. There was no traces of what could have happened to them. Like it's like those people just never existed. They went up this mountain and completely disappeared. So let's find out why all of these things happen, because it's hectic. Mount Nyanga is found in the Chimanimani region of Zimbabwe, which would be in Mutare. It's actually such a tourist site that a lot of people from all over Zimbabwe and the world come through to actually experience this mountain. I have personally been there a couple of times, and I have always made it to the peak of the mountain, but every time I'm climbing this mountain, my heart is pounding, because I know all the stories surrounding this place and how, you know, I should watch my words and what I say, because apparently if you say things you don't know, you get oh wow, sorry about that. But apparently if you get there and you start making stupid commentary and saying things that you do not know, the odds are that you'll get disoriented and get separated from the group of people you're walking with, and ultimately you disappear. That because of how sacred this mountain is, you should never actually go up the mountain by yourself, but rather come with a group of people that you are certain you're going to reach the peak with and come back with. Otherwise, just going on this whole adventure by yourself is a recipe for disaster. Because of the sacredness of the place, it is likely that you'll get chadzimira, like I said, which is disorientation, and you will likely get lost. So if you have other people around with you, it becomes easier for you to follow them or for them to actually restrain you when any such experience happened. So the mountain is believed to be sacred because more than 5 people have been lost, including 2 children of the former Minister of Finance in 1981. They mysteriously disappeared in 1981, and up to today no one knows what happens to them. In 2013, there was a 31-year-old guy called Zayed who was going on this thing with his friends and his family, but midway going up the mountain, because it rains regularly in that region of the country, the team got tired and they decided, you know what, we're going to go back down. Zayed was like, no, I actually want to get to the peak of this mountain, so I'm gonna carry on by myself, and that was the last time he was seen. They had helicopters, they had search parties, and he just disappeared like that without a trace. There is another child who actually, a 13-year-old boy, who also mysteriously just disappeared, and up to today all those people just vamoosed without a trace, guys. And it begs the question, is Mount Nyangani really sacred, or because of how steep it is, if you had to fall, then definitely no one would actually be able to find you. As we mentioned, the Manicaland region by itself is believed to actually be quite sacred. In 2012, the Minister of development at the time, who was a devout Christian, actually put it in parliament that they actually have rituals to appease the gods at Osborne Dam, where they were trying to construct, but were not able to actually finish the construction because the construction workers were mysteriously disappearing and were also complaining about being chased by mysterious creatures. So they then decided to put it in parliament to put it against a vote that, they look for traditional healers and traditionalists in the country that could spearhead appeasing the gods and the mermaids and all the sacred living beings in that region, especially by the dam they were trying to construct. So the whole region in itself seems like it was such a sacred place. I don't know. I mean, it's full of greenery. It's beautiful, and obviously it would make sense that I don't know, guys. I'm Christian, but I'm African at the same time, so I can understand and believe in some of these things happening. However, I don't know if I do believe, but I saw the clay pots, and when I asked the people that I was with on that hike if they saw the same thing, not anyone had seen it. I saw it by myself. So sometimes I wonder that if I'd commented on it in that moment, what would have happened? Was I also gonna disappear? Okay. Anyway, let's continue with this. 2014, a white tourist went up the mountain and he was unable to find his way back from midday when he actually started this hike until the next day, tomorrow morning of the next day. Apparently, he said that he was only able to survive and actually come out of that mountain because of the substance or some potion or muti, I think, that he had been given by the locals to apply on himself, that would also ensure that he is respecting the sacredness of the mountain and that he was respecting the beings that lived in this mountain, that if he had this potion or this muti on him, they would recognize that he is actually not there to harm or to disrespect the sacredness of the place, and they would release him. So he says he came across a whole lot while he was in that trance for all those hours. He said he met mysterious wild beings, and he saw things that he can never have imagined to have seen with his eyes in that moment. But he was also able to come out of this trance because the local people had warned him about the sacredness of the mountain and given him a muti to protect him. It is actually believed that centuries ago, when the Bantu people were actually migrating to stay in the north, which they then called Guruswa, then Tanganyika, which is now modern day Manicaland, when they were moving there, they were being led by a chief of the Humba totem of the Shona people in Zimbabwe, Makombe Humba, who was the leader of these people who were migrating. His daughter got married to Muchachani of the Simboti totem. And Muchachani was believed to have been a spiritual and a traditional healer who carried supernatural power. Makombe actually gave Muchachani his daughter to marry. He also wanted part of this supernatural prowess of Muchachani, that he then gave him part of his land or part of his country, which is now the region where the Mount Nyangani is. However, it is believed that centuries ahead, when now the settlers and the colonizers came, Muchachani then gave his grandson gave him part of the land, including Mount Nyangani and other sacred places that came with the place. Muchachani's sixth grandchild was believed to have been called Fira Kutumwa or Mufamba Nando, Tamba Nando, I think, if I remember it correctly, or they just knew him as Nando for short. So they said that this man was a warrior who would go away from time to time, go away from Nyanga to go fight in wars and then come back to Nyanga. But however, while he was on his way to a battle, one of his friends called Signoro actually betrayed him, and he was killed in the mountain range somewhere very far, not very far, but close to Nyanga. He couldn't come back home. So it is believed that because his grandfather was a traditional healer, when he gave him part of this land, he gave him a magical stick. And this stick is something that a lot of people wanted to get their hands on, which is why Signoro betrayed him to get the stick. So now it is believed that all the things that happen in Nyanga, the sacredness and people disappearing, is actually Firakutumwa's spirit that has been waging war against the Signoro tribe to actually take back his land. That when the white settlers came through to the region after Nando had been killed, they offered to build a hut for Nando's medium where they could be actually performing their rituals. And on 3 occasions, it is believed that Nando's spirit actually came out through his medium, complaining and saying that because he had been killed and his chieftaincy had been taken away, a chieftaincy that he had been given by his grandfather, then people were going to suffer and a lot of things were still going to happen. This was recorded by one writer who had actually consulted the medium in present day Zimbabwe. I mean, during our time, he went and he looked for this medium for Nando's medium. You remember when we were talking about Mbuya Nehanda, we talked about how these mediums and these names are names of previous people. So there was a medium for Nando, and one writer actually approached them to understand about the disappearances that actually happen in Mount Nyanga. And on 3 occasions, in 3 different locations, Nando came out and said the same thing, that because his chieftaincy had been taken away from his people, that these were chieftaincies that had been given by his grandfather, and they had taken it away from him just like that and killed him for nothing. Then he wasn't actually going to rest, but he was going to continue to wage a war until his children, which are the descendants in present day Zimbabwe right now, have been given back their title, their chieftaincy, and their land. Started shooting late, so it's becoming a bit dark. I have to wrap up, but I did find part of what the medium said, and I wanted to read it out to you so you can hear what the medium said. So when this writer of these disappearances went and consulted the medium, the spirit of Nondo came out and he said, "Moyo ndizo ndinorwadziwa nenyaya yamuri kundibvunza. Vana vangu havana chikuva. Dziva haripwi musi umwe, but nekufamba kwenguva muchazviona kana vana vangu vasati vadzorerwa ushe hwavo." Which translates to, "Moyo ndizvo, I am saddened by the story you are asking me about. I am saddened because my children don't have a place of their own. They are just refugees everywhere without a place they call their own. If you look closely, the water is drying up slowly. I won't rest until my children reclaim what is theirs. People will continue to disappear in Nyanga Mountain." On the second account, with a different medium, Nondo's spirit came out and said, "Moyo ndizo ndume ndakapiwa nasekuru vangu Runganga," who was the traditional healer, the grandfather who actually gave him the land. "Mvura inoyera yakapanzurwa kubva pamupimbira wasekuru vangu. Homwe yangu inoita marira akawanda kuti munyika muve nerunyararo. Kana vana kuti vana vasabatwa zvibharo uye kuti njodzi dzisawanda munyika. Saka handingaiti chipinyi chekusada kuona nyika ichibudirira. Asizve vana vangu vanofanirwa kuve vaine chikuva chavo." Which translates to, this guy was actually saying, is actually protecting the country, and he wants to see the country prosper, but until his children have been given back their chieftaincy and their land, then there would not be peace. So the writer went ahead to ask Nondo that, okay, what about Zaid, the guy who disappeared in 2013, because they were trying to find him by then. He was like, what about Zaid? How come we couldn't find him? And he was like, because you failed to listen to my medium, and because of your stubbornness, I decided not to help you. He goes on to say the helicopter search, when they were searching, they ended up stopping searching with the helicopter because they said that the winds were too strong and they were pushing the helicopter away from the area that they were actually supposed to be searching. And he says that they failed to actually recognize that he is the one who was swaying the helicopter to a different region of the Manicaland, where there was a medium from his tribe who was actually going to be able to do the rites to actually release Zaid. So because they failed to to follow instructions, Zaid could not be released, and up to now he's probably somewhere in the Manicaland just wandering about. He's probably dead. No one knows where these people go, but Nondo says that if the right traditional rites to appease the gods had been done, then these people would have been released. So later on, the government actually returned the chieftaincy to the Simboti people, but up to now they are now waiting to see who is actually going to rule, and hopefully see if anything there's a difference. Damn, it's always exciting for me to do those videos. Thank you so much for joining me. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and please do engage with me. Tell me whatever you want me to talk about. My next video is going to be the Chinoi caves, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Bless you guys.